Okay, it's recording. Hi, everyone. Thank you, and welcome back to My Kids Think I'm Cool, but podcast Christmas edition. I am doing 25 interviews with different cultures every day, and we are going to be talking about Christmas in their home country and how they celebrate Christmas in the new country that they're living in. Since I talk to a lot of internationals on my podcast, I just think this would be such a great way to just learn about different cultures and how they celebrate Christmas. Today, I will be talking to Gina Lorubbio. Did I say it right?
Yeah,
I
you
feel like I
did.
mess up everyone's last name.
You're totally great.
Okay, Lorubbio. And she's an American living in Denmark with her family. Um, and your husband is Danish, and then you have a 7-month-old.
Yes.
Did I get that right? Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you for joining me on this podcast and this video Zoom. If anyone wants to see it, you can actually go on the YouTube channel and see the actual video for this if you're listening to it on podcast. Let's get into the questions. How do you celebrate Christmas back in the US? I know everyone's a bit different depending on their background, or more or less it's the same. It's a one big day.
Yeah. Yeah. I always think it's funny when Danes ask me how I celebrate, like how do Americans celebrate Christmas? I have air quotes on that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, there's a whole lot of other, well, first of all, do they celebrate Christmas? What region do they live in? Like, what state are they living in? What is their family heritage? Like, there's so many questions. It's such a big country. And yeah, Danes, I feel like a lot of them eat the same types of dishes every day. So they're not expecting so much variation maybe. So my family, maybe the last name tipped you off, we're Italian American.
Yeah.
So my dad's Italian American, and then my mom is more of one of those classic blends where we're not really sure. So my dad's side, we've always celebrated Christmas Eve was the big celebration with him, and we do the Feast of the Seven Fishes.
Okay.
So on Christmas Eve, we all gather at my grandmother's house in the basement and make fresh homemade pasta. And we do 2 different types of tomato sauce with one has bacala, which is cod, and the other one is calamari, which is squid. Then we do, let's see, that's 2. Shrimp cocktail, which is, I'm sure, a very bastardized, Americanized. I don't think they do that in Italy. But we do shrimp cocktail as one of our fishes. So now we have 3. Then we do a baked fish that varies year to year. And we always do smelts, which are small little fishes that take forever to clean. And then we fry them or bread them and fry them and do like lemon and parsley on top. We only have 5. I think the original tradition is 7 because that's like a very religious, like a sacred kind of number in Catholicism. We're down to 5. And it was so funny. I just was having a text exchange with someone I know who's from northern Italy. And she said she doesn't know many, if any, Italians in her circle who have that tradition. So I don't know if it's an Italian American thing or if it's so old that like when my grandparents moved to the US like 100 years ago, they brought it with them, but it's not like a modern thing in Italy to practice. So
I actually heard, I have some friends from Eastern Europe, like Lithuania or, Lithuania, and that's what they do is the fish in the evening. They don't have meat. Something like that.
Yeah,
so many different.
I think it's a Catholic thing.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to eat meat. Again, air quotes. Depends on like. Some people might still think that fish is still meat, but meat being like from land animals. So you can't have that on Christmas Eve. You can go crazy with that on Christmas Day if you want. And my family, that's the other Italian thing that we make is wedding soup. And that's for Christmas Day. And that's like a chicken broth with shredded chicken and meatballs and bread squares, which I think is unique to my family. It's like dough, almost like dumplings, but they're totally in cubes because we make them in a sheet pan out of breadcrumbs and cheese and eggs and parsley and all kinds of things.
Oh wow! So you actually have like a tradition in the evening and also during the day brought to you by your dad's Italian side.
Yeah. So yeah, but the main event is definitely Christmas Eve. But then because I grew up in the US, Santa comes overnight, which
Yeah.
I'm realizing I have a young baby. I'm realizing we're going to have to figure that out. What story do we tell this kid? Because in Denmark, Santa comes like sometimes to the actual house, like while you're still celebrating on Christmas Eve, like in
Yeah.
person sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. I've had
And
it. You're like, whoa.
so I don't know how to reconcile that with the story that I grew up with. And like some years, the years we're in the US, Santa's just going to magically show up through the chimney at night. But then
Yeah,
in Denmark, Santa's going to come
to your
a
door.
different, like to the front door.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure how to resolve that yet. We'll find out.
You will.
Yeah.
So now, how do you celebrate in Denmark? Do you kind of try to keep this five fishes tradition
Yeah.
in the evening, or do you celebrate it with your husband that's Dane?
I've kept, I think so that feast is a quite a laborious thing. So it's really nice if you have lots of different people doing it and participating. So I've kind of let that be just something we do in the States when we're there with all of us who have done it and participate. But the wedding soup that I mentioned
Yeah.
is a really nice thing. I can make like the different pieces and put them in my freezer. And then so on Christmas Day, which is not really like a big holiday celebration here. It's Christmas Eve here. So like on Christmas Day, there's often a window where I can say it's like a little bit open for a new tradition.
Yeah.
So I've often served wedding soup on Christmas Day to kind of get my fix. But I go totally along with the Danish Christmas Eve tradition with duck or flæskesteg and brown potatoes and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And risalamande. Actually, we've taken that to the US with us, the risalamande, which is like the
Yeah, I like that tradition. Do you also do
yeah.
it with the almond? If someone finds the almond
Yeah,
in
and
the
then
yeah.
and they get a gift. Yeah, that's like I think that's a crowd pleasing tradition. I
Yeah.
think there's certain foods and traditions from Denmark that are a little bit harder to convince my family to get on board with, i.e. pickled herring.
You
um,
do.
my family, that's not really, that's like so far out of what we grew up eating, I think that it's taken a while. I'll eat it when I'm here, but it's not the
Yeah.
thing that I reach for first.
When I first saw it, I was like, fish in a jar. Hmm. I was like, interesting. Of course, you want to try it, but then I was like, no, just I'll pass on it now.
Yeah, yeah,
So, how do you
yeah.
think with your son, how you're gonna balance out, the two different traditions from the U.S. Then you kind of have the U.S. Italian tradition also
Mhm.
influencing in the Danish traditions.
Yeah. I've been thinking like how long my work is all about passing traditions down through
Yeah,
food. And it's been making me think like how long do we carry a tradition? Like I'm an Italian American with grandparents that were born in Italy like over 100 years ago. How long do I keep carrying that? But it is part of me and it's the food I like to make. So he
yeah,
will, I'm sure, get a lot of this Italian
yeah.
American side of me and those traditions. I think one of the big things that is important for me to have is for him to have is a stocking.
Yeah.
Where we don't have a fireplace, but we have the radiator. So I think that we'll hang a stocking for him on the radiator in our
Yeah.
apartment. And I actually commissioned my somebody in the Danish side of my family to knit the stocking for him. So it's
Oh,
like
that's
a
very cute. Yeah.
American tradition, but knitted in Denmark and kind of like a little bit of a Nordic theme, like an aesthetic to it. So that's
Yeah.
kind of fun. So that's definitely a blended thing. Um, I haven't gotten into it. My son's too young, but the advent calendar and the Nissa, the gnome that visits and brings gifts, that's a
Yeah.
whole new frontier that I guess we'll explore next year or the year after. I imagine we'll do that because I think there's some things that would probably be hard to get out of doing if
Yeah.
the child lives here, everybody else is doing it.
We just did the Nissa this year, but my daughter's 4, so
Okay.
she understands it, and they also do it the Burnehound.
Okay.
So and then my husband knows about it, so he's every day he
Yeah.
has a plan, and we put the door on somewhere in the corner, and then we do tricks each
Yeah.
day, and then
Yeah.
the advent calendar, a chocolate a day or whatever they get in the advent calendar.
Yeah.
But I feel like with all the different traditions, it gets a bit overwhelming. Do you think you will be overwhelmed once your son grows up to be 3 or 4 with all these different Nisse, the Yule calendar, Advent Sunday, the candle lit, and then
Yes.
your traditions in the U.S. Do you think all these different traditions is just a bit too overwhelming for
Yeah.
for the kids and yourself? And how would
Yeah,
you
I
handle it?
agree.
Would you kind of just pick one or the other and maybe
Yeah.
drop the other tradition?
I feel like the easiest thing to do, and probably what we'll do, like we're in Denmark, so we're surrounded by the Danish culture, and that's the momentum. I think the momentum is there for the Danish traditions to be dominant. So I think in the years that we are in Denmark, like we'll just kind of roll with that, and maybe I'll find like 1 or 2 spots to infuse the American traditions. The
Yeah.
stocking, I think I'll always have a stocking,
Yeah.
and or maybe we can do with the advent calendar. I don't know. I haven't thought about this totally yet, but there's supposed to be like a small gift every day for 24 days, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we just do like the 4 Sundays of Advent,
Yeah.
and then I can fill his stocking with the rest of those gifts that he would have gotten every day, because that's a
Yeah.
lot of small little things.
And I feel
Yeah.
like it's just so much gifts. Like
Yeah.
December is like gifts is like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like
And that's
candy and
not, I
then
really like the traditions that are not about that. Like I really like the candle lighting, things
mhm.
that are like basically about surviving this darkest time of year when we're in Denmark.
Yeah.
Like, those have a special, there's like a really strong reason for those. And I really feel the need to, have some little bits of joy around. So I think that we'll definitely do the calendar, or the calendar candle with the countdown.
Yeah.
I love that. And I do love, we've started with some of the other women in my husband's family, just the women, we've started to get together to make Christmas decorations like before the Advent season starts. So we'll
Yeah.
have like a wreath for the door, or I don't know, little things to hang up around. And I think that's really sweet, and another coping mechanism for the darkness here.
Yeah,
Also
I
nice.
took on, I think it's for the last 3 years since I've had my daughter. We do Christmas baking now, and I love it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I guess that's another thing where that's another opportunity to also add some of the like more classic American cookies I grew up with.
yeah, so the
Mix.
gingerbread and
Yeah.
the decorating on top of the cookies. So I'm not really happy I took that on, having my friends over or um, going over to my in-laws. And I think it's so nice to just have like a cozy time, and then the house just
Yeah.
smells amazing because it smells like cookies for like
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
month because you're just
Yeah.
baking cookies.
I think also the years that I'm in Denmark for Christmas, I'm a little bit more content with kind of giving myself over to all the Danish traditions, because I do make it a point to do Thanksgiving here, which is like right before. So that's at the end of November. So I feel like I definitely get my fill on practicing
Yeah.
the traditions from the US, and anybody in my Danish family or our Danish friends, they jump at the chance to partake in pumpkin pie or turkey or stuffing or any of these things. Like they love to experience and learn about the foods from that tradition. So that usually fills me up and gives me that fix for my
Yeah.
Christmas.
This
Yeah.
I did my first Thanksgiving dinner this year and I was like, oh, this is like really nice. All I need is American football now. Playing
Yeah.
in the background or something.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's just great to, and the funny thing is when I have a lot of international friends, but they all know about Thanksgiving because of the movies. So they're like, are you
Yeah.
doing
That's
it like the
fun.
movies? I was like, not quite like the movies. Close enough. But
Yeah.
with the big 30-pound turkey that's like the size of the table. No, that's not happening. That
Yeah.
doesn't fit in the oven
Yeah.
here in Denmark.
The first year that I moved here, I had like, I don't even know what I would call it, like beginner's ambition. I was
Uh,
just kind of I just like blindly went for it. And I invited 40 people to come over for Thanksgiving. We have like a community room in the basement that can hold not quite 40, but I thought I would invite 40 people, and knowing that some people would not show up. I think every single person said yes, even the people that were from Jutland, like that
yeah.
don't live here. I live in Copenhagen. It's like a 3-hour train ride or whatever for them to get here. And they're like, yes, we'll be there. What should we bring? And everybody said yes. And I was like, oh no. So then I got this giant turkey, and And the butcher was looking at me like I was nuts when I asked for a turkey of that size. And I was like, yeah, I'm sure that that's the turkey that I want. And we got it home, and I knew that the oven size might be a little bit of an issue, but I was very confident that it would work. And we like spread the turkey out flat. We spatchcocked it, so took the back out and spread it out flat, and then had to kind of like nudge it, like push it to fit in the oven. It fit just so. Like I don't think I could ever get a bigger turkey to that, but we had to give it a little nudge to tuck it into the other one. And we were finally ready. And I do think that really, because Thanksgiving is only American, it's not like I'm competing with the Danish tradition. So I think I'll, stake my claim on that holiday and like make sure to do something for that every year, and then do small little bits of American tradition during the Christmas season, but otherwise kind of surrender to a lot of the Danish traditions in that way.
Yeah. No, I can totally understand, because here in Denmark, I noticed that they stick to traditions and they don't change it. You can't change the brown potato and make it white potato, or add an extra meal that's not Christmassy. So I also felt the same. I was like, I'll just stick to Thanksgiving. Well, I can make something up and you guys will still think it's like Thanksgiving because there's nothing to compare it to.
Yeah. And then I find that I have leeway on December 25th.
Yeah.
Which is like Christmas Day, which is kind of the bigger celebration in the US for a lot of people.
Yeah, the pajamas,
my own traditions.
Yeah, the opening the presents, because it's not really a big deal here for that. So yeah, I can understand that. And I try not to have too many presents, but I just say, oh, Santa came again.
Yeah.
Like, you forgot some presents.
Yeah.
Because we also celebrate it in the US, so it's like that's when the presents come. So it's like, my daughter's like, where's the gifts? It's like, oh yeah, they come tomorrow. So it's like, so I have to distinguish which country. So now I tell her,
American Santa or Danish Santa that's coming.
Yeah, it's like, we're in the US now. It's the American way to do, Christmas, or we're in Denmark. It's the Danish way to do Christmas. So, but now she knows the two different countries.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing. She's 4 and now she's getting. It's like, okay. Lola and Grandpa, my mom and my dad, lives in California, which is US, and then I live in Denmark. So she's distinguishing the two different countries. It's actually interesting, as a 4-year-old knows the global map and points out where your parents live. Not a 4-year-old knows the map.
Maybe the story that I'll tell Vigo when he gets older is that there are multiple, like each country has their own Santa that's responsible for distributing the gifts, and because Denmark is such a small country, Santa can just get done with his work.
Yeah, he flies
dinner
through
time on Christmas Eve, whereas the US is a little bigger and we're a little bit lower on that. Like
he comes. It is actually good. Comes Christmas morning, because it takes time to get there.
Yeah, to all those people. That Santa is really busy.
Yeah. I might take that one.
Yeah. I've got to formulate it. It sounds like I have a couple of years before.
You will. 3 is when they start questioning.
Okay. I'll make my plans. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your traditions in the US with like a little Italian twist, and also your tradition on how you handle or you celebrate it here in in Denmark. I'm thinking US now, like I'm in the US. But here in Denmark, and how you kind of balance it with the Danish family, and then your background as an American Italian. And thank you so much for doing this 25 days of Christmas with me. And for the listeners, tune in tomorrow to find out which country I will be interviewing next. It could be Jamaica, it can be France, who knows, but you'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out which country makes the cut. Until next time, guys. Until tomorrow, I mean. Bye, guys.